Today I want to talk to you about different types of carnivorous plants, how to take care of them, what type of environment they like, and what type of soil to plant them in. So the first plant we're going to talk about is the pitcher plant, or Nepenthes. That's this guy right here. And these plants like moist but well-drained soil. To make their soil, we're going to use 1 part each of perlite, peat moss, orchid bark or fir bark, and sand, preferably sharp sand. These plants like full sun to part sun, and they love humidity. There are 2 main types of pitcher plants, and both come from Southeast Asia. One of them lives in the highlands, and those prefer temperatures that are cooler, like 75, 85 degrees during the day and 60 degrees at night. The other type of pitcher plants are the lowland pitcher plants, and they typically like temperatures between 85 and 95. They like it hotter, and they like it warm at night still. So choose the pitcher plant that is best for your environment. Here in California, the highland is going to be easier for me to grow without a terrarium or a greenhouse. Let me know where you're from in the comments below, and I'll let you know what plant is best for your area. The pitcher plant can be grown in a terrarium, a greenhouse, or a windowsill. Windowsill tends to work fairly well for me in California, and that's for a highland species. So if you notice that your pitcher plant is not getting pitchers and the ends are browning, this is a clear sign, like this one, that it doesn't have enough humidity. So with this one, I'm hoping that the new growth is going to have pitchers. I've been diligent about spraying it and trying to increase the humidity. And I've added some sphagnum peat moss, some live moss right here to help with humidity as well. So we'll see. If it doesn't produce pitchers, my next step, because I don't want to put it in a greenhouse or a terrarium, would be to put a plastic bag over it, put a few holes in it, and that's going to create its own little humidity dome. I would keep it moist until the pitchers form. And once the pitchers are big enough, you can take the plastic off. After that, the pitchers are strong enough that they can handle not having quite as much humidity. And you could spray the insides of the pitchers too if you live in a drier place. That'll kind of increase the humidity. These plants are typically vining plants. They like to grow up and towards the light. On the forest floor, they would be growing up trees or crawling on top of other plants. So this is a young plant, a young specimen, and it takes generally like 1 to 2 years for these plants to really start going strong. And once they do, though, they can grow very quickly. A mature plant is usually around 5 to 10 years old, and as they mature, not only will they grow quicker, but they'll start to send out tendrils that can latch onto things to help them to stabilize themselves as they grow up. So that said, this plant is going to want to be in a hanging basket or on a plant stand somewhere where it can crawl up. You can make a moss pole or something like that. The pitcher plant can also be propagated through cuttings and placing them in water. They can root that way. Sometimes you'll find little babies coming off of the main mother plant, and those are easy to take off and repot. The babies will grow very slowly. The next plant we're going to talk about is the Sarracenia. This plant is native to eastern North America. So you're going to find this North Carolina, South Carolina, and down to Florida. It likes to be in the grasslands near the coast. It's used to getting a lot of sun, and it's used to being in kind of boggy areas. This plant is going to do better with higher peat ratio. So for this one, I would make its soil mixture 5 parts of peat to only 1 part of sand. This type of pitcher plant can tolerate living in standing water. So for this one, I would leave it in an inch of water during the growing season. And during the wintertime, I would keep it wet, but I wouldn't let it sit in water. During the growing season, you're going to see some of the pitchers get brown. When they're brown and dried up, it's fine to cut them off. If you see a flower spike on these plants, it's best to cut it off. It's a lot of energy being put into the plant, and the plant's going to thrive a lot more, send out more pitchers if you cut that flower spike off. The same goes for the Nepenthes or the pitcher plant. Sometimes they send out a flower spike as well. Cut it off. Sarracenia prefers full sun, like I said before, and it will have more color on the pitchers if it has more sun. So this deep red color won't exist if it's living in shade. These plants, if you can make like a bog, the fuck is it called? I have yet to try it, but you can place these plants in a bog garden or a bog box, and they do really well. And they catch a lot of bugs that way too. They can survive pretty cold winters. So if you live somewhere where it gets below zero, it's probably best to cover it with pine needles or some type of mulch to make sure it survives. But here in California, this plant could survive the winter. It's probably going to die all the way back, but it will come back in the spring. Sarracenia can be divided in the spring, and so that's one way of propagating it. And when you are deciding to repot it, which it should be repotted every 1 to 2 years probably, that goes for all the carnivorous plants. The peat just starts to break down and it doesn't provide as much drainage over the long run. So when you're repotting it, if there's enough of the plant and it's doing well, you can divide it and make some more. So Sarracenia is going to be good at catching its own prey as well, and you really don't need to feed this one. It does not like fertilizer at all. So like the Nepenthes, this pitcher plant can catch its own prey, lures them in with like a sweet nectar, and if you really want to, you can do the same thing, find or buy tiny mealworms or bugs, insects, and feed it to it. But like I said, it doesn't really need it. It's more just for fun. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and please subscribe. That's all you gotta do. Click subscribe, hit the notifications down there. And I guess we're done. Till the next time. Thanks. Bye.